I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, as always, Daniel. And guys, tonight I have a return guest. Now, this is not one of her encounters. This is a close friend of hers encounters. In fact, it's a family encounter. This went all the way back to the 60s, 70s time frame with her friend's great-grandmother or grandmother. One of the two. But anyway, you guys, she didn't tell me any of the story. I asked her, I said, well, what it's about? She's like, well, there's two of them. And both of these encounters come out of, okay, get this. Hell for Certain, Kentucky. That's the name of the place. Hell for Certain, Kentucky. So one is a Bigfoot encounter. The second one is, as told to her, a scarecrow. My question was, you mean like Jeepers Creepers? And she's like, yes. So before we get into the story, you guys, as you can see the email scrolling across the bottom of your screen, if you've had an encounter you'd like to come on the show, please email me at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. If you'd like to just send me your story because you want to share it with somebody, but you don't want to come on the show, by all means, send it my way, and I'll be the safekeeper of that story. Again, I have a membership. It's $2.99. With that membership, you guys get a exclusive early access to a Saturday release. I do those once a month. Thanks for all your support. Without further ado, let's bring on my return guest, Sabrina. What's going on?
Ooh, hey, doing good. How are you?
Doing good. So you kind of dropped this bombshell on me like mid-morning.
Yeah.
And all day long, I'm like, what has she got to tell me? And I thought it was just one story, but no, you got to say, no, there's actually two. In Hell for Certain, Kentucky. For real.
For real, hell for certain. Yep.
I'm going to have to look that up after
I
the
know.
show.
I know.
Hell for Certain. No way.
Hell. Yep. Hell for certain. If
Okay,
the name doesn't give you chills.
No. Well, no. I mean, I want no part of it.
I know.
I mean, it's not like a fun name like Bucksnort, Tennessee, which actually exists.
Yeah.
I've been
That's
there.
crazy.
Or Funk, Nebraska. That legitimately exists. So hey, you guys, I'm just gonna let her get into give as much detail as you can. Start with the we'll start with the big one first.
Okay.
Bigfoot one first, and then we'll go into the Jeepers Creepers one.
Okay.
All right.
So
take it away.
So, like he said, hell for certain, Kentucky. And both of these stories, my best friend passed down from, it's her great grandma. And it was her great grandma and her great grandpa lived in Hell for Certain. And it is pretty much what I've been told. Top of the mountain, it's, you got to know the family name or know somebody to even get up there. And her great grandmother and great grandfather used to live up there. And this was probably in the 60s, early 70s, before her mom was born. The Bigfoot story is they were hearing some weird noises late at night, and her great grandfather had actually seen this thing. Now, I don't have much details for it, but it was, out stalking around their property. They were having, multiple things happen, and eventually the Bigfoot made itself known, and her grandpa was just not having it. He saw it, did not want any part of this thing, just absolutely terrified. And one night, I guess it was making these awful howling noises. And she said they had this big, like, bush tree out in the yard, and you could see it through the kitchen window where, over the sink, and it was making these awful noises. And she said that her great grandfather just had enough, and he went outside on the porch and he shot at it. And I guess he hit it, and it made this awful howling noise, and he wanted to go, chasing after it. And her great grandma was like, do not. So it ran off, and that was the last they had heard from it for a while. But I guess a few years later, her great grandfather had passed, and one night she heard these weird noises outside again, and she was like, what is that? And she went to take a peek, and she said that this Bigfoot had come up on her porch and had sat down on her porch and had its face covered in its hands and was making this almost mock imitation crying noise. And she said she stared at it for a few minutes, and it just continued to, just cry and make this noise, and then it just got up and went about its way and left.
Okay. Okay, so again, I'm not going to be on camera for this because I'm writing notes.
All
So
right.
when did she know that if when her grandfather after he shot, did he go out the next day looking around for anything, any prints, anything like that, any blood trail?
I believe he said there was a little bit of blood, but there was no trail of it or anything. It was just a little bit of blood on the bush tree that it was hiding behind, and then after that it was just gone.
Probably winged it, nicked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: so her great grandmother believes that it was the same one that came and sat on the porch.
I believe so. I believe so.
And did she ever pass on any description of it?
I think she said it was dark in color. She said it was kind of dusk when it was on the porch, but she said it was dark in color. But other than that, she'd never really, because she said it just had its face buried in its hands, and it was just, crying or making a mock crying sound. But she said after that, just a few minutes, and it just got up and just walked away.
Now, was its back facing the door, or was it like its face, like the front of it facing the door?
I think the back was facing the door.
Okay, I mean, I wish I could ask her, but do you think? Because I mean, you go out and you do a lot of investigation on
Mhm.
this. So, do you think that maybe there might have been some type of empathy? Maybe that the Sasquatch knew that, her great grandfather had passed away, and maybe they had maybe some type of interaction years previous that it wasn't to the extent of what it was at its last experience with him. And maybe he was trying to show some empathy. Or do you think that it was trying to maybe lure her great grandmother out?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. I've heard different stories of, people having connections with these things, and I've been out multiple times and I've seen and, heard some really weird stuff, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know if it was trying to lure her, or if it somehow knew that he had passed, or maybe it was, if she had been outside at some point after he had passed away and she was crying and it was just mocking what it had seen. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, you know that there's certain parts of the area because this is up in
Yeah.
Appalachia, you know, and if I'm not mistaken, Shawnee and Cherokee are all up in that area,
Oh.
all through West Virginia, Kentucky, places like that. Um, some people call them watchers,
Hmm.
and it's a possibility that the one that he shot, he might have just had enough because maybe it was scaring his wife more than it should have.
Right.
Um, maybe that was his watcher.
It definitely could be. Definitely could be. I think especially back in the 60s and 70s when, people were more isolated, especially up on the mountaintops in Appalachia, and they have family units and they're just like, everybody else. They have a mom and a dad and, young ones, and whether that was a singular one that had connected or watched over the family and that was just his area or her area, or if it was part of a family unit,
Yeah.
it's so hard to tell.
Do you recall your friend if she ever said that she believes that her grandfather intentionally tried to shoot at it, to hit it, or was he maybe just kind of shooting near it, like towards it in a way to scare it, but not like hit it, and then it indirectly hit it?
I believe that he was fully intending to hit it. I guess they had, a few days of this thing screaming, and he had just literally had enough.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's jump over to, the scary one.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So as it goes, it was around September, late in the fall year. And I know that because I remembered when I was talking to you earlier, there is a field behind the house, which is a prominent detail to the story. But again, it just sounds so crazy, but it was the corn was up. So that's how I know it was, between September and October. But so I guess this had gone on for a few days. They were hearing like really weird noises outside. Apparently that's the norm up there. Um, just I guess they were hearing some really weird noises, couple bangs on the front door a few nights. And this was before he had passed away. So they had a few bangs on the front door, and every time they would open the door, there would be nobody there. And her great grandmother was a midwife back in the day. And this was between 60s and early 70s as well, because this was before her mother was born. So, a few days of banging on the door, just really weird activity going on. Nothing was ever there. Well, a few days later, they started hearing this scratching noise at this particular window. And, they just kept thinking, like, what is this? They would go outside and there would be nothing there. And this just kept going on and on and on. But it kept scratching. And that's what reminded me of the story from the podcast I watched from you earlier, was this scratching noise. Well, it always happened at the same exact window, different times of the night, she said, but the same exact window. And this window was the room that she kept her children in, that she was the midwife for, or the children that she was watching over. So I guess this went on for like a few nights, and finally she had decided to wait in this room. And sure enough, this thing came scratching, and she opened the window as quick as she can as soon as she heard it. And she said that she saw a scarecrow. And she said it was just absolutely massive. She said it was between 7 and 8 foot tall, but it was really lanky. And she said that it had the hat, no joke, had the hat, had the scarecrow, the weird stance. And she said she could see the straw coming out of the hat and the straw by the hands. And she said that it threw its arms up and just, she said, screamed at the top of its lungs, like this high pitched, god awful scream. And she said it turned around and it booked it for the cornfield, just screaming. And she said it ran right into the corn, split the corn, and it just kept screaming as it kept going, and then it was gone.
Okay. So while you were reading that, holy crap. Like for real, because I'm looking and okay, Kentucky is not far away from what other state? What's north of it?
Ohio
Pennsylvania?
and Pennsylvania, yeah.
Yeah, Ghost of a PA Wild's The Goblin Scarecrow.
Nuh-uh.
The Goblin Scarecrow is described as a demonic-looking scarecrow with tattered clothing stuffed.
Shut up. I've never heard that.
I'm looking at it right here. Now, again, you can't believe everything you
No,
see, but they have images of it.
No, please let me. Can I see?
Yeah, it's more like they're called the keeper of the holy crap. American folklore cryptid. I'm trying to put it up here. You know what? It's not going to show that well. I'm going no. I'm going to send you a picture of this. This is bananas. Actually, I'm going to see if I can get it on here real quick. Hold on one second. This okay. Oh my gosh.
And see, I could never find anything. And when I looked, when she originally first told me, and she told me this years ago. We've been friends for like 9 years. And when I looked, the only thing, because I was looking, cryptid wise, this and that, the only thing that came up was this old Russian, it was like an old Russian tale about the boogeyman. And it basically talked about how, I'm going to probably botch this, but it was called the Bubek or something like that.
Yeah.
and it would go to areas where there were children, and I thought that was a prominent detail because it was scratching at the window where that's where she kept the children that she like watched over and took care of.
That's
Creepy. It's
creepy.
so
Okay.
creepy.
I'm getting this to download right now. This is
Ah. Oh, I got the
I,
shakes.
that okay, that's crazy. Now this is coming out of PA. This is like American folklore cryptids. Now you guys, anybody that's watching this, I'm not saying that this is a real thing,
Right.
but I mean this is the first encounter that I've heard of it, and then I just do, a Google search for it, and it pops up as
Oh,
okay. Ready?
I'm ready. Oh, I hate that. Okay. That's literally what she described too.
For real.
For real. Yeah, she said it literally had the hat and she could see like the straw coming out of the hat. Oh, that's so creepy.
That's bananas.
That's so
Oh
creepy.
my goodness.
Ooh.
Okay, so I didn't think that this interview was going to go to that, and I'm thinking, okay, Scarecrow, because Slender Man, is a fake thing. It's
Yeah.
an absolute makeup thing, and you hear
Yeah.
people, oh, Slender Man's no, it's not. That's not. But again, anybody can say that, these are made up too. But this is like coming back from like holy smokes,
Old tales.
yeah. This is, let's see, what does it say? The Goblin Scarecrow. Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that.
The goblins, that's crazy. It says that it's believed to inhabit national forests and surrounds Pine Creek Valley and the PA Grand Canyon and elk country as well.
Okay.
It seems to inhabit 4 of the 6 landscapes, makes it indigenous to the northern part of PA wilds. What?
Wow.
This is crazy. See, the first reported sighting of the
I'm so scared. What? What? Just lay it.
this
Just lay it on me.
the first reported sightings of the Goblin Scarecrow was sometime in the 50s in Potter County. Whose possible sightings go back long before that. Deer hunters saw the thing as they were out looking for game and wound up getting a bit more adventure than they had bargained for. The terrifying looking creature ran after them, giving
Oh.
loud, long howls. They shot at it, but their bullets had very little effect. The bullets passed through it, revealing, they say, worms and beetles inside of it.
Ew.
The incident was reported almost 70 years ago. Since then, the creature has traveled throughout the state of Pennsylvania, sometimes being spotted as far south as Bucks County in the Pennsylvania wilds. It seems to mostly stick to the northernmost part of the state. Sightings of the Goblin Scarecrow have been reported in McKean, Tioga, and Elk counties. At times, the Goblin Scarecrow chases and attacks people, and at other times, it simply stands and screams its banshee howl before disappearing into the night. That's exactly what she described.
Literally. And that's what she said. She told, when her mom was born, she told her and passed on the story. And she said that's what it did. It literally screamed like a banshee. She said it was this god awful, high pitched, just inhuman wail, like it had been discovered, and then it just threw its hands up and then ran, and still screaming as it ran. Oh, the fact you
That
just found that.
that's crazy.
I hate that. I do. I
That is
love it, but I
abs-
hate it.
I'm telling you, this is one of my new favorite little encounters. That's fantastic. Oh my goodness.
And
That
that's why
is
I've told you I've never heard anything in that, the morning podcast and this morning, and you guys were talking about the scratching, and that's what reminded me.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm releasing this as soon as I'm done with it because this is good. I mean, it may not be like, a 45-minute to an hour one, it might be 25 minutes, but whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
this is how cool is this? So think
I
about it.
know. I know. And that's what we always like retell it around like spooky season and stuff like that. But that was when she first told me that it really like it gave me goosebumps, like it freaked me out. And I was like, but I was thinking like why would an elderly, she's in the 60s and 70s, they're up on the mountain in the dark. Like her husband worked third shift, so half the time she was home alone when this stuff was going on. And she said that I remember she said at one point she thought like one of the banging was her husband playing a joke, like he had come home early from work, and it was not. So it's like the things that they would have seen back there in those days up by themselves is just I can't even imagine.
Okay, I gotta see exactly where um Hell for Certain Kentucky is. I have to see exactly where it is.
I can't remember what county it's in.
Let's see here. Let's do this. Let's see here. Hell for Certain Kentucky. Show me a map. Let's zoom out. Okay, it's close to Hazard.
Okay.
Um oh, it's in southern Kentucky.
Okay.
It's like almost due north of Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg.
Okay.
So, but I mean, if you look at it this way, it's close. It's still kind of close to Ohio and West Virginia. You know what? It's not out of the realm of probability for that thing to
Yeah.
travel. You know that.
Especially if they're for whatever reason like migrating or moving territories or I couldn't. I don't even know.
But see if that's an actual cryptid, you know, I have to think that's only one.
I I don't know because people used to think there was only one Bigfoot for how long?
Long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on now. I mean, it's a cool folklore. It's still cool,
Yeah.
and it's cryptid folklore. But just think about the. Oh yeah, I was just going to bed. I just drink my water or my tea, and I hear this banging on the door, and I look and there's nothing there. The next thing you know, I hear this scream, and it's the Goblin Scarecrow. No
Yeah.
way.
No.
I'll tell you right now, that's got me more scared than Jeepers Creepers.
I know. I know.
The Goblin Scarecrow. That's freaky. So
I don't even know what I would do. I don't. I would never go outside ever again.
no. But hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and switch gears here while I got you.
Yeah.
So you've gone out on a couple of recent investigations, haven't you?
A few since the last time I've talked, yeah.
Yeah. Anything excited happen on any of those?
Nothing too well, wait, let me think. We
Because
did.
you're part of the Ohio Night Stalkers
Yes,
with
yes.
Mike Miller and Cody
Cody.
Pauly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did I'm trying to think, my brain's so messed up from how many, I'm thinking like it's way ahead, but so last October or November, I can't remember exactly when it was, we went out to this beautiful, absolutely beautiful cabin in Adams County. We had a good weekend. We had some, ghosty stuff going on, but we also had this just super neat. We went to it's a private owned land. We have permission to be back there. It's one of our hot spots. We've gotten some crazy recordings there before. This particular night we went back there and there was definitely I believe a family unit back there. There were multiple. There were trying to think, between Miller, Cody, myself, the McCoys, and then Jeff Byers was there, and then one other. So there's probably 7 or 8, I think, of us, and we were just having, branches snapping. You could hear walking, just pretty normal stuff. But at one point, they're getting really close, and my back is to this part of the woods, and Miller stands up in a rush, and I'm like, here we go. And this thing, I didn't personally get to see it, but this thing comes out from behind me. It's standing, I guess, right at this wood line. Miller is just absolutely in shock. I'm like, I don't even want to turn around. I don't know what the heck's happening. And he's like, it's right there. And I'm like, oh man. So I get up, and as soon as I get up to turn around, it books it, and it takes these big steps backwards, and you just hear this big snap. And I'm like, I don't know if it was it doing that or if it stepped on something, but it was also holding this big branch while it was standing there. So when it stepped backwards, it let go of the branch and it shook. So it was, this big bush just shaking, and then the big snap behind it. And you could hear a couple footsteps, and then it was gone. But after that, I told Jeff, I was like, I gotta pee. So we were going behind the truck, and we're sitting there, and then Donna's there, and we're standing there, and you just see this big black mass just kind of coming towards us. And I'm, pants down, I'm like trying to do my business, and Jeff makes this cage around me, and he actually pushed me into the back of the truck, and he's like in protective mode, and I'm like, what's going on? And it was coming at us, and you couldn't really see, but you could hear it like coming, it was coming, and then it just stopped. And he's panicking, I'm panicking, I'm trying to get, done and up, and it's just quiet after that. So, Miller's shaking, I'm shaking, Jeff's shaking, we're all standing there, and then poor Cody's like, I'm gonna go back behind the truck, and I'm like, be careful, there's something back there. So he goes back behind the truck for something, and he comes running back, and he's like, I saw it. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many different things that are going on. And I guess he had seen it, cross the path. I didn't get to see it, but from what I got to hear, it was just barreling straight through something. But it was a hotbed of activity that night, and it was like that and pretty much until we left. And it was such a great weekend.
Oh my gosh. And who has video, audio? Who has what? Pictures?
No pictures. Miller, I believe, does have a few howls and screams from that night that we caught. I think he had David Ellis go over them to take the coyotes and things like that out, but he's got a few, I believe.
That's
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
I
That's
know.
fantastic. Hey, did you get a chance to see any of the last few episodes that I've posted?
I haven't. I watched your one this morning with Miss Taylor, and then I have to get caught up. I have to get caught up.
Okay, so I'm going to be reading this story probably on our live. Yeah, after a brief hiatus.
Okay.
Josh and I will be doing a live on Thursday. That's the tentative time is 8:30 like we normally would do. There's just a bunch of stuff going on Josh's end, and he just didn't want to go in and have to do like maybe a small short live. He wanted to give everybody what we're used to giving.
Right.
And so someone sent me a picture and an email.
Okay.
This email looks like it took 3 months for them to send it to me
Okay.
because after reading it, you could tell he started it, then he decided he didn't want to send it. Then he started it again and continued on. Then he stopped, said, I just can't send this. And then finally he goes, okay, I promise you, I'm going to send this. And he's writing all this out.
Yeah.
And he attached some pictures. And this is one of the pictures that he attached. Now, I've showed this a couple of times. Josh has probably showed it, maybe seen it. It's funny. I saw another group on Facebook post this picture, and I asked, hey, where'd you get that picture?
Hmm.
Where'd you get that picture? Because here's the picture that was sent to me on March 8th.
Okay.
So, and this one's kind of blown up just a little bit.
Oh. Okay. Oh.
Okay, that was taken from the back porch of this guy's brother's house. And it was not actually a picture. It's taken from a video. And a lot of bad things have happened to this family after this encounter. His brother since lost his battle with his demons,
Mm.
and he believes that his family's cursed. And this thing lurks around. And then I had a husband, wife, and guest investigation team. This is one of my favorite pictures. So here's the original one that they sent me.
Okay. Oh. Oh, that's creepy.
Okay, I kind of zoomed in on it a little bit.
Yeah.
What's that look like to you?
For me, it just looks like a mix between like a Bigfoot and something not Bigfoot.
That to me looks like a female Sasquatch.
I
Here,
can't
look again.
say.
There's yeah.
Are there breasts?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what.
Yep.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That is so neat.
And then I had you know who Daryl Adams is, right?
I've heard the name.
Owl Moon Lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sent me some of these audio clips. These are crazy.
Wow.
That is literally behind his house. That's behind his house.
Oh man.
Now this one's looped.
Oh god.
Listen to this one.
Oh, that makes me tear up. Oh man.
That's out behind his house. And then
wow. That's incredible.
Now, if you don't know anything about Owl Moon Labs, he bought this property
Mhm.
in Oregon. And it's like almost immediately things started popping off. He heard something one night, and the way his house is built, he's got like 2 bedrooms upstairs and bedrooms downstairs.
Mhm.
And he went to one of these upper bedrooms because he heard something, and he noticed that the light was on, like the security light popped on.
Mhm.
And I think if I remember right, he said that it turned off, but he was like looking down on the side of his house, and he saw something. And he's like, "What is that?" And so he like said, "Hey," or whistled or something,
Yeah.
and this thing bolted, like just took off right through up the hill behind his house. It was looking in a window, like a lower bedroom window. Yeah,
Being a
that's
creeper.
crazy. Yep.
That's ugh.
And I don't know if you remember if you've heard any of these. These are from an episode that I have, Oklahoma's Area 51.
I don't think so yet.
So guy Jimmy, who I just talked to him last night, super cool guy. He's going out to a place near Ape Canyon next month
Ooh.
with his family. And so he's out with his dad,
Mhm.
and check this out. This is crazy.
I heard. Ooh, that's a different sound.
I've heard that before.
I don't know if you could see what it said. He says they were hearing something, that was super close to them. They said they heard it. They heard it moving around,
Yep.
and they had their flashlight. They were looking for it, and that's when it did it. And then he took, I think he said this area is either, again, Oklahoma's Area 51 or an area they call Xanadu.
Okay.
And this one is, I find, incredible because they get going.
Mhm.
That's when all that last bit, that's when you hear the coyotes starting to lose
Yeah,
their mind. But man, how crazy is that? So
that is crazy.
I need to seriously get out because there's areas around my house, like legit 20 minutes from my house that they're bona fide sightings.
Oh man.
So I got to get out there. Now I don't know, I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything. I don't know if there's anybody who's heard stuff, but there are sightings, like legit upright, giant, hairy thing running across a frozen lake up
Wow.
by my house. Absolutely. And then there's another area that's it's so cool that it's this close. It's across from a movie theater that's like 10, 15 minutes from my house. There's a lake across the street and there's woods and stuff around it. And another guy was out one night riding his bicycle and the moon was full from what I understand. And he just wanted to go check this lake out that and he parked his bike and he walked over and there's like this little lagoon area. It's just small, but there's like a southern and a northern peninsula. It's like a little inlet. And so he walked over there and he started hearing noises.
Mm.
And then out of nowhere, this rock, 3, 4, 500 pounds, he said, just comes sailing through the air and lands in the water and splashes him. So he heard these noises again after the rock and he decided to get out of there.
Right.
And when he went back to the place where he, set his bicycle wasn't there.
Nuh-uh.
His bicycle was like 60 to 75 feet away, like pushed up into some trees. He saw it because of his little like flashlight or whatever. He saw one of the reflectors. So he knew that so he went in there getting it and he heard all these noises. And so he got out of there, rode his bike back. It's crazy.
It's so scary, but it's so some of them really are. They're like little tricksters, and I don't know if it's just because they're bored or they just want to mess around with whoever comes in their territory. But some of them they really do. They just love playing pranks. They'll move things. They'll take things. And there was one story, I can't remember who it was, but Miller told me that they had put a toy, I think it was a stuffed dog in a tree, and they took the dog and they went back the next time, it was gone, and it was gone for months until one time they went back and they had placed the stuffed dog back in the exact same spot. Like it just wanted to
No
keep it.
way.
Yep. And put it back.
That's awesome.
I know.
Well, hey, hang out in the lobby for a second while we close this bad boy up. I just want to say thanks for coming on. It's like last minute thing. I truly appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your friends' encounters and tell your friend from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And just let her know, if she ever has an encounter or she would like to come on and clarify some more things regarding her family's, encounters or whatnot. This is a safe space and I'm not here to judge. And I mean, like I said, I'm in the comments all the time.
Yeah.
I'm deleting comments. I'm banning people if they get nasty. Yeah, it's just I know there's more to the story.
Yeah.
Both of them, and I would love to get, I mean, you're getting it third hand,
Right.
but still, it doesn't make it any less intriguing.
I know.
And
It's
the
ugh.
fact he entrusts you trust you enough. This is like a family like story, like a history, that well, my great, it was her great grandma back in the 60s.
Yep.
So, and her mom was born in 70. So her grandmother must have been in her 60s.
Yeah, she's
Great.
gone now, yeah, too.
Yeah. So, so it's your friend's mom, her grandmother, and then so her mom's mom, and then her mom, and then her mom's grandmother. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 generations.
Right.
That's crazy.
I
That's
know.
And again, you think about it, that area of the United States, there were parts that had no running water, had no indoor plumbing, had
Yep.
no electricity, didn't have any paved roads, you know?
Yep.
So,
Wild times.
yep. All right. Well, you hang out in the lobby, we'll chat. All
I
right?
will.
All right, everybody, that's the show for tonight. Again, this is like an impromptu thing. I know I needed to get Sabrina on just to hear those encounters, and yeah, we just kind of went off and started chatting, and you know, uh, checking out some other stuff that had been sent to me that she hadn't seen and stuff. And again, you hear it, and it's like I'm hearing again for the first time. So people who tune in and you haven't heard any of the other previous episodes with some of this audio or some of these pictures in it, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, it's things are out there, everybody. Understand that just because someone has never seen I don't know, a Bengal tiger doesn't mean that they don't exist. We know they exist. So if anybody again out there has had an encounter and you'd like to come on this show and share, even though you've been told that you're lying, you saw a bear, always remember, you guys, there's people out there that have seen and experienced the same thing you've seen. So, as my buddy Josh always says, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend always starts with a sighting. Take care, everybody. I'll see you later.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?